I really admire his dedication and commitment to the craft. Cause I kind of told him, what was wrong about it. Making mistakes. I ain't had no daddy who'll pull up and get on my ass and things I did, you can't get away with.
I know that.
Stop scrolling. Because what just came out of T.I.'s family tonight is the kind of news no parent ever wants to say out loud. The kind of update that makes even the strongest people buckle at the knees. And when the world heard it, when fans realized what this meant for King Harris, the entire internet went silent. You could feel the shock. You could feel the heartbreak. And for the first time in a long time, the Harris family wasn't trying to hide behind cameras, jokes, or celebrity smiles. They let the truth spill, and that truth was heavy. It all started with one shaky voice note that leaked online around midnight. The kind of late-night recording where you can hear a person trying not to cry. You hear the breath catching. You hear the silence between words. And you instantly know something is wrong. Really wrong. The voice didn't say a name. It didn't mention details. It didn't point fingers. It just said, "We need prayers, please." This time it's serious. And instantly, fans panicked. Everyone knew it had to be about King. Because the last few months for King Harris have been a roller coaster, not the kind you brag about, not the kind you film for YouTube. The kind where every turn feels like the car might break right off the tracks. The fights. The run-ins. The late-night lives where he looked exhausted. The chaos, the confusion, the desperate energy of a kid trying to prove he's grown, while the world keeps reminding him how young he actually is. He wasn't just spiraling. He was sinking. And people around him were pretending not to see it, because, well, that's what fame does. It hides things behind lights. But this time? The lights couldn't hide anything. They were too bright. Too loud. And when that voice note started trending, T.I.'s family had no choice but to come forward. They waited until morning. They waited until they could gather themselves. And when they finally stepped in front of the camera, you could see everything in their eyes: exhaustion, fear, and something even worse, acceptance. Tiny was the first one who spoke. And her voice didn't sound like her usual soft, comforting tone. It sounded like someone carrying a weight too heavy for her chest. She said she didn't know how to start, she didn't know how to explain, but she needed fans to hear it from the family, not the blogs, not the rumors, not the people who profit off pain. She said King had been struggling more than anyone realized. She said the family had reached their breaking point. And then she said the words fans were not prepared to hear. King is in the hospital. The moment those words left her mouth, the chat exploded with disbelief. Thousands of comments. Thousands of hearts dropping. People begging for answers. People praying. People angry that he'd been allowed to reach this point. And Tiny kept talking, even though every sentence sounded like it threatened to break her. She said King hadn't been sleeping. He hadn't been eating properly. He'd been dealing with stress, the kind of stress a kid shouldn't even know exists. The expectations of growing up famous. The pressure of trying to carve out his own identity. The hate comments that piled up every time he showed up online. The tension with his parents. The pressure of proving he wasn't soft, wasn't spoiled, wasn't weak. Tiny said King had internalized everything, and it finally caught up to him. But what really broke people was when T.I. finally stepped into the frame. His face looked older. Tired. Like he'd been crying for hours and was trying to keep it together long enough to speak. And Tip, who always talks with confidence, with rhythm, with sharpness, sounded nothing like himself. He sounded like a father. That's it. No rapper. No celebrity. No tough guy. Just a dad who'd spent the night terrified. He started by thanking everyone who sent prayers. Then he said he hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. And then, with his voice cracking in the middle, He said something that made even the comments stop. I failed him. As a father. I failed him. The entire internet froze. Because T.I. doesn't admit things like that. He might joke about mistakes, he might clap back at trolls, but vulnerability? Not like this. Not raw. Not broken. And he kept going, saying he didn't realize how much King was carrying. How much he was hurting. How much he was trying to live up to expectations he never should have been expected to meet. Then he said something even more heartbreaking. King had been trying to reach out. Subtle ways. Quiet ways. But the family was too busy, too distracted, too confident he was just going through a phase. They thought he'd figure it out. They thought he'd grow out of it. They didn't realize he was drowning. T.I. said the incident that put King in the hospital wasn't just a breakdown, it was a collapse. Emotional. Physical. Mental. Everything happening at once. He said the doctors told him the stress on King's body was severe. That his system had been in fight or flight for months. That he'd been pushing himself past the edge. And when T.I. described walking into the hospital room and seeing King, unconscious, hooked up to monitors, he had to stop talking. He had to step off camera to breathe. In the background, you could hear him break. That sound alone had the internet in tears. Tiny picked up again, barely able to speak. She said she didn't know how long King would be there. She said they were trying to keep him stable. She said he had moments where he woke up, but he was confused, emotional, overwhelmed, and asking questions that shattered her heart, questions like am I in trouble, and did I mess everything up? Fans weren't prepared for this part of the story. They'd seen King fight online. They'd seen him argue with his father. They'd seen him acting wild, acting grown, acting reckless. But they didn't see the scared kid behind all that. The kid craving direction. The kid craving attention, not the celebrity kind, but the sit down next to me and listen to me kind. Rumors started forming instantly, people asking if this was connected to a fight, or pressure from the industry, or something darker. Tiny shut those rumors down immediately. She said no one hurt him. No one attacked him. No one was to blame but the environment he'd been trapped in, the endless swirl of fame, pressure, criticism, expectations, cameras, and chaos. She said King has loved the spotlight, but the spotlight hasn't loved him back. Then came the part fans could barely handle, T.I. coming back on camera, eyes red, voice low, hands shaking. He said he wasn't sharing this for sympathy. He wasn't sharing it for views. He was sharing it because he needed the world to stop tearing his son apart online. He said every meme, every insult, every joke about King being lost or needing to be humbled chipped away at a kid who was already fragile. He asked people to understand that fame doesn't make you strong. Money doesn't make you stable. And being a celebrity's child doesn't make you immune from breaking. He said fame is like putting a spotlight on your wounds, and King's wounds were deeper than anyone knew. Then he said the sentence that knocked the air out of every viewer, if he doesn't get help now, we might lose him. The live chat froze. Thousands of people watching. No one typing. Just heartbreak. T.I. explained that King had agreed to enter a treatment program once he was stable. Not rehab. Not punishment. Not discipline. A mental health facility, a safe place for him to finally talk, finally heal, finally breathe. He said King had been refusing help for months, saying he was fine, saying he was strong, saying he didn't need anyone. But last night changed everything. Last night made him realize he wasn't okay. Tiny chimed in again, saying King had apologized to them. She said he cried, not the angry crying he used to do, not the defensive crying, but the kind that comes from a person who's finally letting everything go. She said he told her he felt alone. Even in a big house. Even surrounded by family. Even with cameras and fans and followers. He felt alone. And that's when fans really broke down. Because it didn't sound like a celebrity story anymore. It sounded like any kid who felt unheard. Any kid who tried to act strong. Any kid who didn't know how to say I need help. T.I. then said he blamed himself for pushing King to be tough, to be strong, to be resilient, to stand on business, when what King really needed was space to be a child. He said he was too busy teaching him how to be a man, and forgot to let him be a boy. King Harris's family announced he'll be offline for a long time, no lives, no interviews, no wild moments. Just recovery, healing, and silence. At the end of the video, T.I. begged for prayers, saying King wasn't just fighting for clarity anymore, but for himself, for peace, and for a future. Fans responded with compassion, sharing prayers and stories of their own struggles. For once, the internet wasn't mocking him. They saw a kid trying to survive pressure and pain. The family says King is stable, emotional, scared, but finally listening, and this time, they won't let him fall.